After studying this module, you shall be able to know the meaning and concept of variance analysis, understand the favorable variance and unfavorable variance, identify the variance that are controllable and uncontrollable, analyze that all adverse variances are not bad for the firm, and appreciate how the variance analysis is significant to the management. The term analysis of variance has two keywords: analysis and variance. Let us first understand the meaning of these terms one by one. The difference between the actual and standard is the variance. The variance can be measured in terms of cost, profit or sales. The second key word is analysis, which means examining the total part by breaking it into the subparts to look at their interrelationships. When we take both the terms together, that is, analysis of variance, it means analyzing the total variance, examining its subparts like the cost, profit or sales and their interrelationships in terms of good, adverse, favorable or unfavorable. Let us now understand the meaning of variance analysis. According to CIME London terminology, variance analysis is the resolution into constituent parts and the explanation of variances. This definition says that the total variance should be broken up into its constituents and the explanations of all the constituents are to be looked for. But the process does not end here. The identification of explanations which causes the variance would demand the corrective action and a lesson for the future operations so that such causes would not get repeated again. Therefore, variance analysis involves three phases. Phase 1, dividing the total variance into parts to analyze and assign the responsibility of each individual variance. Phase 2, explanation of variance from each individual responsibility centers. And lastly, phase 3, variations demanding actions to be corrected and provides a base for conducting next period operations. We will now understand the concept of variance analysis. The concentration of variance analysis is in looking at difference between standard and the actual, whether it is favorable or adverse, controllable or uncontrollable, and what does it indicate. These concepts of favorability, controllability will raise queries in the minds of students which should be dealt with beforehand. Does the unfavorable variance mean that the firm is not efficient? Are all adverse variances bad? These are the basic questions which should be answered before getting into the technical details of the topic. Let us consider each situation one by one. Number 1, favorable variance versus unfavorable variance. The simplest thing is to judge the favorability of the variance. We can say that the variance is favorable or good when actual cost is less than standard cost and actual profit or sales are more than standard profit or sales. On the other hand, variance is said to be unfavorable when actual cost is more than standard cost and actual profit or sales are less than standard profit or sales. We have assigned positive or F sign to indicate favorable variance better than expected and negative or A sign for unfavorable or adverse variance which is worse than expected. Now we will consider controllable variance versus uncontrollable variance. There can be many factors responsible for a favorable variance besides the straightforward relationship between cost, profit and sales. It sometimes reflects the efficiency of an organization in managing all the given factors. The unfavorable variance generally is taken as an indicator of inefficiency of the organization. We, as an analyst, have to see the underlying factors, the favorable or unfavorable variance, before declaring it as a contribution by efficient or inefficient management of an organization. The underlying factors can be internal to an organization or may relate to external environment. The examples of internal factor that may cause inefficiency are wrong standard setting, defect in the machine, attributing to defective use of raw material, etc. These factors can be corrected and controlled. That is why these are known as controllable variances. On the other hand, the external environment may also contribute to inefficiency of firms. For example, price increase, time lag in procurement of material, etc., which are beyond the control of management, and these affect the firm adversely. The variances arising because of these factors are uncontrollable variances, as these are not controlled by any division or department of the organization. The division of controllable and uncontrollable variance has to be seen in context of management by exception. The uncontrollable variance over which the organization has no control may be ignored. The important point here is to emphasize and investigate over controllable, unfavorable variance that demands possible corrective action to convert them from adverse to favorable. This is in sync with the principle management by exception, that is, concentrating on matters which require specialized attention, as management cannot devote their precious time to all their deviations in the same way. 3. Can we say that all adverse variances are bad for a firm? This is a common question that arises in our mind when we relate the word adverse with anything bad that has happened. But let us tell you that it is not always true. It depends on cause and quantum of the variance that decide its impact on a firm. The variance with small quantum generally requires no action and prompts the analyst to rather concentrate on those showing large deviations. The other factor that we have to look into is the cause of the adverse variance. The cause underlying may be anything: the long-term external trend in the economy, or internal problem of the company. These cause, although raises the cost expenditure of the firm, results in increasing the sales in the given period. The result is adverse cost variance associated with increase in sales or profit. For example, the statement of budget shows higher actual cost of production than budgeted because of higher actual sales than budgeted sales. In the above budget, sales and cost of production budgeted statement, we can see that the sales and profit variance is favorable while cost variance is adverse. It establishes the relationship between sales and cost. That is, when sales increase, cost of production also increases, resulting in adverse cost variance. This adverse cost variance is good for the company as it is associated with the favorable sales and profit variance. Let us now understand significance of variance analysis. The variance analysis is significant for management for variety of reasons. Number 1, cost control and measuring performance. Variance analysis facilitates cost control by comparing the actual cost with standard cost. It facilitates the managers to measure the performance of respective divisions and departments. 2. Assigning responsibility and accountability. The identification of area deviating from the standard helps the management to see the responsible department and divisions and held them accountable for such deviations. It helps the management to extract the causes related to such deviations, and once it is known, it is easier to implement changes in the structure. 3. Management by exception. This principle of management by exception says that the management should concentrate on core competencies and the areas where utmost attention is needed and ignoring the less significant areas. Variance analysis helps in identifying the areas where utmost attention is needed and thereby is in sync with the principle. 4. It helps in decision making. Decision making involves taking right kind of decision with respect to the area demanding action after evaluating all possible aspects given at any given point of time. Variance analysis identifies the area demanding action and prompts the management to draw their attention towards an urgent investigation of it. Here comes the role of management, that is, all the causes pertaining to the definite area identified should be extracted before making any decision. 5. Warning for corrective action. The evaluation of performance by measuring the difference between the standard and the actual is not an end in itself. There is a need for action if there is any significant deviation. If the management takes no action, then there is no point in discussing them. Let us now summarize what we have learned in this module. Number 1. Variance analysis means breaking the variance into subparts and understanding the underlying causes. 2. Variance is favorable when the actual is better than the standard or expected and unfavorable when the actual is worse or bad than the standard or expected. 3. The variance which arises due to the causes beyond the control of the management are uncontrollable variances. 4. All adverse variances are not bad. The causes and quantum of the variance is to be considered before declaring it to be good or bad. 5. It is significant to the top management in taking corrective action, cost control, measuring performance and decision making.